Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
And we are at Wednesday. We have some red folders. We had some red folders for the Euro overnight session in the European Open around 3:30 this morning. They are behind us now, so that has some influence on the Euro. 9:45 this morning, we have some manufacturing reports on the U.S. We'll be done with our session by then, but we'll probably start seeing some sub effects going on around that time. And that's pretty much it for that on the day. And we'll look at our correlator chart and see what's strong, what's weak. And right now we're looking at the, looks like on the 30-minute, 15-minute, and the 5-minute, we've got the Swiss is strong, the Aussie is strong, the New Zealand dollar is strong on 3, but weak on the 5-minute. And this one's starting to switch around a little bit. And then the week, we look like the US dollar and the British pound are generally weak this morning. So keep that in mind as we look at the charts. And let's go to the charts. We did have, as you may have known, or may have watched this, that I was in a S&P 500 trade. And last week, I got into a buy position all the way up near the top. I just let it go, just let it run against me. I took another position. I was able to get out of that profitable yesterday, but then I did a sell. And the sell position was, let me get to the right chart here. Here's my Euro unit, my S&P. And the sell position was, I had it at a point which was right in the middle of our orange zones, which is right here. It's right at the top of the orange zones. So right now, my buy was up here. I got out of that profitable, just got out of it just right at the high. And now I'm in a second position short. Now, as this thing comes down, if it gets closer to where my first entry of my sell is, which is right in the middle of these orange zones, I should be able to come out with a break even on the one and a profitable on the other one. My stop is above the zone that it where it tanked last week. If you can see the, see this is the other way here. If you can see where the high of the week was, actually it hit a week. This was last week's high, and it just tanked. So this is where my zone is between here and here, and my middle of the area is right in this area. So what I'm anticipating is that, and there's a high probability that if it gets up there, retested, you can see it has a little bit of a slope here from the high, and it made a lower high, and now it looks like it's coming back down to retest this middle zone. I did take it short up here, about where my buy was, actually a little bit below that. If it goes up above and breaks up the new high, then I'll be out of my other short. I'll keep this one open, and I'll just find a better position to get in. But right now I'm looking at, with the fact this thing was the high, this was a lower high, and it's starting to break down. I'm anticipating it to come back down into this orange zone where my other sell order is, which is where I used to stabilize my negativity on my buy position. And now once it gets back to break even, this one will be profitable, this will be break even, and I'll close out both of these trades pretty much with a positive outcome between the two of them. So that's what I'm doing with the S&P. This is sort of a hedging technique, which we're going to be working with a little bit to try and show you how to keep from getting too much drawdown. Again, you can only do this with a international broker. You cannot do it with, if you're a U.S. citizen, you cannot do it with a U.S. broker. That's why you need to have an offshore account if you're on the U.S., so you can do a buy and a sell position at the same time. And we'll just get into that more and more, a little bit more as we go along here. But it looks like we have a big, I'm not going to worry about that right now, the Bitcoin right now. I'm just going to hold off on that, see if there's any other news. any other. There's a, what's this one here? This was a New Zealand USD 1 minute chart. We had a bounce arrow go, it's going right up into a red zone. That's not going to do us much good. Let's see what the overall trend is on this. I'll go to a 15-minute chart, see where my ranges are. Right now I'm at a high. I don't see another higher high over here, so I'm going to scroll down to a higher chart position so I can see where this target, right? This is the high here. The target is going to be somewhere over in this area. Here's a nice big drop, retraced, drop, bounce, base, dropped. Here was trending. Low, higher low, lower low, higher low, or higher high, or lower high, lower low, lower high. And now it's starting to gradually come back around. So I'm going to be looking over to the left to see what areas are of significance. And I look at this area here. This is a strong move down with the retrace. This is where the sellers started really taking control of this down move. So I'm going to be looking at this area and then this area for my Fibonacci range. So I'm going to take it from here down to here. And I look at find out where my middle zone is, which we're really right now, we're just breaking out of the middle zone, coming up into the upper 25%. So I'm going to take it from this high all the way over here to the end of the day. This is the upper 25%. Here's the lower 25. And so technically speaking, it's a 23.6. And this is the upper 25, 23.6, 23% up on the upper high. And then we have our middle zones. And you can see where it came out of the lower 25, came back and retested it, formed a little trend line. So I'm going to note this trend line right in here from this low to this pivot on up. This is where I'm looking at this thing to come back down and bounce and retest that for starters. And right now we're still looking to see where this high is going to be retested. If it's going to be retested up here, then wait for it to pull back. Once it finds a spot where it pulls back, then I can draw a trend line from here over to this area. I'm going to project this high to the middle zone between the upper 25, which is this 88.2. I'm just going to project that now to pretty much right where the current price is, to where that 88.2 line is. That's just a projection that this is not set yet. And so, and then we're going to draw our middle three lines, which is the 88 or the 61, the 50. Try and get these as close as you can. And then the 38.2. So once this price gets up into this blue area, comes back down, comes out of it, comes back and retests the trend line, then we're looking for this to be the first target. Wait for a close, 5-minute close below that. Wait for a pullback. Now by this time, we should have a strong move down, a small pullback. Then this will be the next target, close below it. And by that time, it's going to be hitting this trend line. And then maybe the end of that trade when the time comes. But right now, this is the projection. So right now, this is the range that we're looking at. And the range we have here is this is about 75 pips. And between these orange levels, we should have, I want to say at least 7 pips or more. That's 21 pips. So that's a rather significant size range. So now we're just waiting to see if this thing keeps trending. Now this actually strong move up, pull back. Now we can take and measure this and see where the potential target is up here. I'm going to remove my Fibonacci line since I have my major lines drawn. And I'm going to redraw the Fibonacci in the other direction on a lower time frame. And I'm going to be looking at this move to this move. Go to lower time frame. I'll go to 5-minute. And you can see that from here, so pull this up a little bit more here. So from, and actually we can take it from the bounce off the trend line, came back down, retested the 61, and now it's coming up, and you can see it broke through the 50. The 61% retracement of this first move would be all the way up in this area right up in here. So I'm going to mark that for a target, potential target. It's going to be this area right in here. And I'm just going to slide this down about halfway through, so to give a little bit of a lead onto where the target zone is. And you can see it's coming right on up into that target area now as we speak. And we'll see what happens when it gets up there. I don't think there's enough room to take this trade. That's a strong move up. Here's the pullback. Now where's our zone here? This zero line is where the top of that Fibonacci line was. And this is the zone. We can actually change this Fibonacci to the next push up, which is this area right in here. So I'll move this over. Mark the low, mark the high. Try and get this as close as we can. And we'll see if this zone range helps to fall into play with where the other target zone was. We're going to use this little push up. Had a 23% pullback. And the 23% overshoot is going to be right about in this area. Again, this helps to confirm where that first one was. We're still looking at this area for the target. We do have a little red zone coming up in there. Expand this out a little bit. And we'll see what kind of range we have up here. I don't think we're going to have enough room to take a trade there. That's only 6 pips. Again, I'd like to see 15 pips or more. If this thing were to come back and retest our arrow moving average, then we can maybe possibly get a run to this upside. But right now we have this little red zone here. Check our charts and see where the New Zealand US dollar is. I think we said the US dollar was weak. US dollar is weak, New Zealand's strong. New Zealand's strong on all four. So we still want to trade this on the strength of the New Zealand dollar. And New Zealand's the first currency of the pair, so we're looking at trading this to the upside. I don't know that this red zone is going to hold, and if it does, should be getting us up into our target area, which is this area right up in here. Let's move this up to this a little bit more. Here's a new high. Pull back to 25%. That's a rather short pullback, so that tells me this thing still has a lot of strength to it. It's not being able to retrace back very deep. But right now it's having to break through the top of this in order to get to that other target zone. And see, we did have a nice little pullback here. That's a 20 pip pullback for the target area. I think what we can do with this one, since we're well above our first orange line, you can see this is the retrace target zones where these orange lines are. These retrace target zones should be Should be one more in here someplace. There it is. This is the area where it's going to retrace back to, but it still has to make, we're looking at this trend line right up in here as a potential bounce point. If we look at that trend line as a bounce point and we see where the price is, we have enough room to the upside. This seems probably worth taking a trade. We do have an arrow there, but that's a arrow coming into that bounce area. I'm going to do a buy stop on here. And if it breaks up, then we're going to be looking at a buy stop, and then we're going to be looking at a 7-pip target, where the target zone is going to be somewhere right around the 70.54 area. Modify it, take profit, 0.7054. And the stop is going to be, we're going to have the stop at the other side of this, probably at the other side of this blue line, which is going to be right around the 70.40 area. Let's try this again. I started already in the trade here. I'm going to go 15 pip stop, 7 pip target, and then we'll adjust. Use that to start with. We did get in the trade. The red zone's gone, where this is our target up here where the blue area is. And our stop is way down here below this other green zone, which is a good spot for it. All we have to do is go up 7 pips, so we got a profit on that one. And we move on to the next trade. We'll just keep an eye on this one to see how it goes. Questions? No questions. Okay.
No questions.
Everybody. Quiet group this morning.
Either that or they're getting it.
Either that or they're getting it. Yep, that's it. Hopefully they're getting it. Let's take a look at the British Swiss. Take a look at that one. And we'll do the same analysis on this. We'll go to start with our 15-minute chart, see where the zones are, see how much range we have between the last green and last red. That's 56 pips. That's a reasonable range to be looking at. Let's see where this one is. All right, now came up into this is the range, pulled back 25%, coming back in to retest this. We have a nice little wedge coming in right in this area. Let's see what the range of these zones are. So if we want to, which one we want to use. That's 10 pip range. I like this better because that gives me a 10 pip range in between these, what's going to be these orange lines. So I'm going to use this for the low and use this for the retrace area because see it came back down into it and it's retracing. So I'm going to use this low to this high. This is basically yesterday's low. This is of the overnight high. So I'm going to use that range for, and then looking for my retraced area, which is going to be back here in the middle. These are my middle three. And here's our nice little trend. And here's our trend going up from, I'll use this last push up and this retested this area. This was a pivot. So here's our anchor. Here's our retest area. That's a pivot low. And bring up our trend line and see if we did get a little bit of a break here. And we did get the bounce off of here. So this tells me that this area here is starting to weaken up a little bit. And now we're looking at maybe possibly coming down to this lower 25% area. So here was yesterday's low. And here's the overnight high. And we'll wait and see what happens with this. Right now we had to break. It hasn't broken through this pivot. So this area is still valid. We have a green zone right here. So, and we do have a bounce. There's an arrow, and we have an arrow going down to this side. There's 18 pips. We can probably take this. So what I'm going to be looking at, I'm going to take this as a nice little drop, waiting for the pull back up. And then maybe with a bounce, the arrow, this is the arrow for the go sign. Let's put an arrow right there. It's right on this, it'll be right on this candle here. Let's see if I can draw this here. That'll be the area right at the bottom of that arrow is where the price we'll be looking at. I'm gonna go to lower time frame. Here's where my price is over here. Here's a nice push up, and we'll wait for see if it tags our trend line. And I'm going to wait for it to come back down and retest this bottom trend line. Right now, the fact that it broke the trend, came back up, now it's back inside this upper trend, kind of invalidates this breakout. This could be like a little bit of a head fake here. So we're still looking at this as being the retracement off of this high, coming back in. Here's a high right here. And that's right up here in this red zone. The red zone does seem to be holding. And we'll see if it starts to weaken up and see where we have with this. I need to get my moving averages in there. Moving averages, there's the 5, put that in. And insert the moving average and put it at 13. So we at least have those two. And that's going to be yellow. All exponential. I would like to see this green cross and close below the yellow before we start taking this thing short. So right now this thing still has a little bit of an upward push. It came back into the blue zone, coming back out again. And now I'm going to be looking for a strong move down with a retrace. We don't know where this thing's going to stop. And we'll see if it can break through this arrow moving average, this blue one. If it can break through that, then look for the retrace, and then we can take it short. Right now, it still has a little bit of upward pressure. British Swiss, the Swiss, I believe, was on the stronger side. So we are looking at it was strong. Actually, no, it's still weak here. It's in the middle. It's in the middle. It's in the middle. It's showing Swiss weakness, but it's also with the British pound. So these two currencies are basically neck and neck, trying to decide which one's going to overtake the other one. So really, that's not going to help us much. They're both in the same spot. Right now, we're just looking to see how far this thing comes down. So I want to see the green crossing the yellow, and then have a nice little pullback to hit it. This will be our first target. And that target should be, if it does get a break down here, that target's 7 pips away. But off of this bounce, we have our 15 pips. We did get another break of the trend line on a 5-minute chart. See if we can get a 5-minute close below, which we do not have. The The 5 minutes still, the 1 minute can give you some closes, but it's still not going to be enough. You'd like to follow what confirmed with at least with the next higher time frame, which is the 5. These are still green bars, so we're still looking at a little bit of a push to the upside, still retesting this little trend line right here. We do have another red zone. If we can get another arrow alert, then that would be helpful. Right now, our New Zealand Swiss, New Zealand seems to be working out pretty well. We got into our trade, and right now we're up. And it's about ready to hit our target. One more little push, and we'll have our target. If it stalls, then I will close it out myself. Came right up and just couldn't quite close it because of the spread. Let's see if it gives it one more push. So we're on a 1 minute chart on this. Let's see if we can get a 5 minute close up in there. We've got another 2 minutes. Go back to our British Swiss and see how that one's doing. That one's still pushing up, still testing the upper trend line. So we're gonna wait for this thing to pull back, and that's right here where this end of my trend line is. That's right at the bottom where the arrow, that's where the arrow alert was. So we can get a break of that, and then we still would have some room to the downside of our 7 pips to the target. That would give us a little bit of a target there. Any questions?
No questions.
Let's see if we have anything else to look at here. We'll save this one. Do the British Swiss, we're on that one already. Nothing there. German 30 had a nice little move down earlier.
Did you do anything with it?
I did not do anything with it. Let's take a look at it here. See where basically we're still having the same range we had yesterday. I didn't have to redraw these lines at all. And so right now it is inside what it came up, actually broke through. Actually, we do need to redraw this here. Just redraw this. Load, clean up the chart. Get my moving averages in. Right now it's pushed to the downside. Our moving average, we got the 200, the arrow, the 13, and the 5. 5's below everything. Still pushing down. We have a nice green zone. Here's the low, here's the high. So we're going to draw the fibs from this low. Here's the high. Here's a little bit of a breach of the high. And now it's coming down into our, we have a break and a retest. So it came out of the upper 25. And it tagged the 38. And it didn't tag the 50. That's the next zone. And here's the 61. And now we're looking for the retrace. It came out of the zone. Now we're looking for the retrace back into the area of the zone and looking for the push down. So we got our trend line. We're looking for the trend from up here to that area. And then we have the other trend, which is from the strong move up, the retest, You can see it broke through that area. So this little pivot is being challenged right now where this green zone is. If that gets broken, then we're looking at coming down even lower. So we're going to draw a lower trend line. I'll go from here to here now, respecting this low where this pivot came in. And we'll see what happens with this. Again, we have to be patient with these things. So right now we have a nice little move down, and we're going to draw a reverse pivot Fibonacci. And I'm going to go from this point down to here and see how far back it retraces. Because all of our moving averages are all in the proper direction. Now we're looking for the pullback of this down move for the pullback, and then looking for the next target. We did get the close over here on this 15. We actually had the close on the 15 and the 5. Now we're looking for this little pullback. So I'm going to draw it from this point down to here. We already had a nice strong move down trend. This is a strong move down, retrace, strong move down, retested this area, which is where the red zone is. We'll see if it comes back up and retests this area. Now, if this area holds, we'll have a nice little trade to the downside. We do have the crossover of the green and the yellow, which makes me think that this thing may go a little bit deeper. I like seeing it come down where it comes down like this, comes up, had the pullback, tested it, does not cross, and then moves down further. Here we had the cross, then the recross. Now it's retesting this little zone up here. So the new area for the new trend line is going to be this area, and you can see this trend from here's anchor, here's the hit, here's the break, and now it's coming up to retest this. This could be a little bit of a head fake. Right now, there's no real clear direction which way this thing's going to go. So we'll stay out of this trade right now. I see it set up a little bit more. Yes.
Can we go back to the pound Swiss? Douglas is saying that there's an opposite arrow, and I've just received an alert too for a buy on the 15-minute.
Oh, there we go. Yep. But that's not a bounce. There's no bounce on this one. It's just another arrow. So right now, it doesn't really have a lot of value to it. If there was a zone down here where it bounced and gave us the arrow, that would be a good sign. Right now, to this point up to here, you only have 10 pips. For the bag alerts, you need at least 20 pips to the next zone. And we only have 10 on this. So right now, I'm just looking at this is going to be still a retrace. Came out of the zone, came back up in. It did break this trend line, but we have this zone right up in here we have to be concerned about. So I'm going to move this thing on up. Since this trend got broken, now it's going to be retesting to see if we can get the first hit of this trend line somewhere around in this blue line right here. Put that right. We'll just see if this zone here holds. British Swiss, take a look and see what the strength is on that. The British is getting stronger to the Swiss. It is winning the battle over here. So right now, we'd be favoring the strength of the British. Back in here. So British is the first currency of the pair. Now we're looking at the strength of us. But we have this zone. So right now, we could be looking at another, if it breaks this red zone, which could be going up higher. And we're going to see what our target on that would be. Nothing over here to the left. Keep on going to a higher time frame until we find something. And still nothing. And right here is the red zone that it's in right now. Here's the next zone way up here. And it's about ready to break through the top. I'd say this thing has some room to the upside. We're going to redraw the Fibonacci's on this one.
I know you guys don't pay attention much to speculative sentiment, but it is at 51 right now. So it looks like it wants to flip up.
Yeah, this is what it's telling me. Thanks, Brian.
No worries.
So here's our new zone right here. We're on a daily chart. This is a daily chart that we try to go to a daily chart to find the level. So right now we're looking at this area right here, from here to here. And so we want to find out where, if it breaks this area, we want to find out where it's going to head up next. And this is going to be the area. So right now on the higher time frame, this gives it a lot of strong push to the upside. So I do like that part. And so we're going to draw these ranges here. Here's a 61. This will be the next one's going to be coming up into. We'll have to start adding that speculative sentiment into the mix here when we, as we get you back into the loop on this. You know, you use that a lot.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't apply as much. It's kind of like your currency strength meter. Speculative would give you the overall big picture look of where the trend's at. But the fact that it was, I think it was last week, it was sitting at 62% long, and now it's at 51% long. So that tells me that the majority of people, it looks like it wants to go majority short. And if it goes majority short, we know that crowds are wrong. So we don't follow the crowd, basically.
Yeah. So right now, this is the new zones we're in. It came out of the low, broke through this one, closed, pulled back. And now we're looking for this thing to break through the top of this. With the British strength, if it can break through the top, this would be the next zone. This would be a nice little trade. That'd be a 30 pip trade if it can break through this area. This is a 50%. I need to pull that up a little bit higher here. Here's our 50% mark. And we'll see what it does with this zone right now. This right now is sort of slow move, this is all the overnight low, overnight basing, strong move up, came back down, retested the overnight area, give us an arrow. But again, this was not a bounce because here's our zone, here's the arrow. And we go to a 5-minute chart, maybe we get, here's a bounce, 5-minute bounce off of that. You can use that arrow. No, it didn't even bounce. It didn't quite make it down there, although it's pretty darn close. But now it's right up into the red zone. But we did get the break of this trend. That was with our high here. Here's our trend line. There's our anchor. Here's the hit. Here's another hit. Here's another hit. We have the break. So right now we're looking for pullbacks. Let's move up with a pullback and see if we can get through this area. So here's the move up. We don't know where it's going to stop, where it's going to pull back. Here's the range, and then here's our 23 to 50. We'll draw that in for the pullback. I'm going to see a pullback into that and see where the higher part of this will be. So here's my 23 line, right about where that arrow was. There's my 50. This is my pullback zone. I'm going to see a pullback into this zone, and that gives me another shot at a deep break pulls back. It may give me another retest of the 0 line, which is how high it goes into this, deep into this red zone. I'm going to come over here, see where my moving averages are. My moving averages are still in the correct direction. And we're looking for the pullback. If I can get this thing to wick down into here, then I may put a buy stop. And we can be looking at this red zone as a target. That will still give us close to our 15 pips. So right now, as this thing's pulling back, Did have one little pullback here. So here's a rally, here's the base, here's a rally. It could come back down to retest this area, but we'll see where it's at. This would be one for a buy stop. So if it breaks to the top of this one's still working. Trying to make another run here.
I got a question for you, Al, from Kevin on the pound US. He's asking if on the 15-minute, does that look like an MTU forming or not?
Pound US 15-minute. Pound US. I don't have that one on here yet. Let's see if I can draw that one in here while we're waiting on this. Pound US 15 minutes. Pound US 15-minute, looking for a W, you say, or an M.
An M, yeah.
This could be an M, the strong move up. Here's middle of the M. Now it's making a new high, which is okay if it just wicks up. If it goes and keeps on going, then I'd say possibly no, then be looking for another pullback. Right now, we could get a little bit of a divergence on this. Right now, it looks like it's wanting to go a little bit stronger here. We'll see if this just wicks up above. If it gets a higher close than this candle right here, if it closes higher, then I'd say this M is invalid. It's going to be making another high, coming back down, and then this would be the trend line for this. Then we'd be looking at, here would be the anchor, here would be the hit. Then if it comes up and breaks through that, then that would be the M, and then you'd be looking for the new trending coming down. But it would probably come down, break through here, come back up, retest wherever this high is, and say, this is making a new high right now. At least it's right now, it's pretty much right even with it. So we'll just have to, I say it could possibly be, but it's not confirmed yet. Let's just put it that way. Let's take a look at New Zealand USD. New Zealand USD. Coming up, it's retesting our zone here. See if it can push on up to break through this. It's got a nice little push up. It had a nice little pull down. Where's my bottom here? Just move this trend on up. There's the high. This one on up. Grab this one here. It's about ready to close me out on this one here. Here's the high. This is the origin. Here's a high, pulled back to the 38. And so the new target could be up here around the 38 area. So that could bring it on up to this level right in here. But I'm going to take my profit. If it closes me out, I'll take my profit and be happy with that. Let's go back to this British USD, see what it's doing. British Swiss. This is the one we were drawing here, British Swiss. Here's the pullback. Pull back to the 23. So the overshoot now is going to be pretty much the target. The first target would be right in here. I'm going to still wait for this zone to hold. But now we had the pullback. I'm going to put a, just check to make sure the British is still strong. And double check that. British is strong to the Swiss, strong to the Swiss, strong to the Swiss. I can take the trade long. So what I'll do is I'm going to do a buy stop right after it breaks through this red zone. And then my target will be 7 pips above it. You get the closeout. Yep, looks like we hit our target on this other one. So that one's done. This New Zealand USD, it broke my target. It still may have some room to the upside, but I already locked in my my 1 or 2% for the day on that one. And right now the S&P is starting to pull back again. This came up pretty close to being positive. Actually now it's retracing a little bit. Take a look and see how that's doing. It's just retesting this zone up here, so I'm still not too concerned about it. I have 2 sell positions, and if it just comes back, all it's got to do is come back down to this orange line, I'll be profitable. If it goes up higher, I may take another sell. This is a little bit like what Gearbox and Variable do. As it's going against you, you take sells up at this area rather than trying to buy it. Just take the sells for the pull and wait for the pullback. I'm still not too concerned about that one. British US, you see, okay, right now we have a higher close. We're on a 15-minute chart. Here's the high. We have a 15-minute candle that closed higher than this. So that means this thing's still going up. This thing's trending. Put our moving averages in here. And we'll close that, or open that. Here's a moving average. Everything's in the right direction. This thing's not ready to give it up yet. And we have the red zone up here. Right now it's trending, so we have a trend line. And I like looking from where the last big push up and where the last retracement was, which is here. So this is the origin of the push. Here's the first hit. Here's my trend line. And we actually have a little channel going on. Here's a high, here's a higher high. There's the anchor, here's the hit, here's the trend line. And you see right now we have an upper channel. This thing's channeling inside here, and we'll be looking for the pullbacks. This is probably about 50%, a little bit more than 50% pullback off of this little move right here, from here to here. You see it pulled back to the 50, 61% area, and now it's looking like it's going to retest the upper trend line. So we may get a little bit, and we also have a red zone right up above there. Wait for a pullback, wait for another pullback to this. So as this thing makes new highs, we'll see where it is, where it goes, and then wait for the pullback to see if it comes back up and retest. So then from the upper trend line to here, that's 40 pips. That's a nice little move down. And that'll give us, if it comes back, wait for the next retrace to get in. We have this green zone here. If it pulls back anywhere close, right now it's trading between this area and this area. We have no bounce. We have a bounce arrow here with a green zone broke through. Now we're looking at this area. And let's see, that's the British US. And let's see, this was our area that we came in. This was the one that we closed out profitable. And take this off. We had the break of the trend line. This trend line is no longer valid. I'll just redraw the chart. A lot of times after I get done with the trade, I'll just redraw the chart and wait for the next, so we have a fresh look at everything. Higher time frame, see where the range is. Let's go a little bit higher here and see what it looks like. I want to see where the top of this is going to be over to the left. This was where the top of it was, moved down. Now it's been basing, it's been ranging for the last, since April, it's been ranging in this range right in here. Since April, that's a 310 pip range. If it breaks through this, it's going to be looking up to go higher. And we do have a strong little push. All the moving averages seem to be in the right direction. Now we're on a daily chart right now. So it's starting to trend on the daily. If it can break through this area here, and we have some nice little push prospects here. Looks like the British pound is getting stronger. And draw it from up here. This was the last significant high. This is the last significant low. And we're right at the 50% retracement of this move, right at the 50% line. Well, then you can see this can be significant from this, between these 50 and the next 38. We're going to have that's a pretty good size move in there. But it did break above here. And this is where we had this buy stop. I may want to rethink about that buy stop because we've got this big daily wick right up in here. I'm going to remove that for right now. That's a significant wick when you're looking at a 1 hour chart with a significant wick like that. I'm going to make another fib range here, see what this range is between this one. That's 34. That's still a little bit weak. That one's a little bit better. Here's a trend line. There's a wick. There's a hit. There's our bottom trend line. And it's channeling. Here's a high. Here's a higher high. Here's the last wick. You can see we have pretty much is respecting this trend line up here at the top. So right now, this is our range that we're really looking at between here and here. That's a 60 pip range. That's a nice range to be looking at. So I'm going to remove these fibs. And I'm going to use this for my main range between the channel. Here's the 38. Here's my 50. Let's see what the range of this is between these two. That's 11 pips. That's my favorite range about. What do we get between somewhere around 10 pips or right around 10 pips between these sections? That gives me nice little target zones for my trades when I'm looking at 7 pips. And the upper zone. There's a daily high range. This is the range that we're looking at for today on the bottom. And here are our middle zones. Come down to a lower time frame and look for, I'm going to see it again. Here's our high. Here's another high. Here's another trend line coming in. So we can make this a little darker. You see a little bit better that way. So I'm looking for it to come. It went up the range, came back out, came back in. Now I'm going to wait for it to pull back out and then look for it to start trending. And see how far it pulls back. And then as we get to cross over this moving average, that might signify the fact that it's already came back, retested. Now we're starting to look for this thing to come back down. But right now it's in this range right in here. I'll see how far this thing pulls back and then retest again, and then we can start looking for it to come to the downside. But this is a significant part. We're looking for it. Went up, formed. They had the zone formed all the way over here. Actually, I take that back. This is where the zone was formed, right in here. This was a high, came back down, formed our upper 25%, came out of it, pulled back out, went up and retested it. Now we're looking for it to break out again and keep on looking for this for the target. This orange one down here. You can see this pull here came back down. It could not close below, went up and retested this area. Get the moving average cross with a little bit of a pullback. We should be able to get into a trade then. Let's see how that works. Questions? How are we doing on time here? It's a half hour still.
Yeah, half an hour to go.
Anything else anybody wants to look at?
How about gold?
Gold, gold, gold. I was still drawing that one out earlier this morning. Here's our lower 25. Here's our upper 25. Here's our middle thirds, and it's playing around right in this area right here. It's right now tagging. Oh, let's see. What are we gonna do? We got.
Looking super busy, Al.
Yeah, this one is looking pretty busy. Is right. I'm gonna take some of these fibs off here. See what we've got in reality here. Here's that was projected here. Kind of a flat top on this from this trend line. It's really kind of we had a drop. Here's a retest of this area, and kind of retested it again. So this is sort of like a flat top. And then we have the bottom trend line coming up. Some money zone. Ugh. Yeah, let's see, here's our trend line here. So here's the low, here's the hit. Going over here to that area. So right now it's ranging in between the top of this one. So somewhat range bound between here and here. That's a $10 range on gold. So $10 on gold with going sideways like that, I'm staying away from it. I'm not a big fan of trading gold in the first place. But that's me, that's not everybody. Some people make a lot of money on gold.
Yeah, it can be very lucrative.
I just haven't been one of them.
Well, your take profits have got to be tight.
Yeah.
In and out.
Because it will whipsaw you.
Yeah.
It does not take any prisoners.
No, that's for sure.
So anyway, right now it's range bound between 1787.50, call it, and 1775.
On the big time frame, gold looks like it's going to go down.
Yeah, it would not surprise
On the big
me.
time frame.
Sound like a game show host, Brian.
All right, that's our next contestant.
That quiet whisper of a voice.
I'm just trying not to wake the beast. I think she's up though.
The beast. Nice.
She's got her first golf lesson today. It should be interesting.
Oh, nice. Well, good luck. Good luck to Kim.
Good luck to everybody else that's out on the course at the same time. I will be far, far away.
Where
so sure
man.
I'm not so sure the parking lot would be safe.
I think you need to try and give her lessons.
I'm not going to give her lessons. I got somebody. Safest place on a golf course with me playing is on the green. I rarely hit it. It's like I always tell my buddies, if it wasn't for distance and accuracy, I'd be on the tour.
Yeah, wouldn't we all?
Here's the Euro Swiss. Let's see if Euro Swiss does anything
Euro
here.
Swiss.
Bounce, arrow, go. Let's see if we have enough room to the go side. We have 3 pips on a 15-minute chart. Is that right?
And you're wanting to go on the downside?
Yeah, we have the bounce. You have the arrow. The go would be the next target. We're on a 15-minute chart. And if I'm reading this right, am I reading it right?
Yeah, you are reading it.
0956 and 0950. So we only have 4 pips.
Yeah,
we need 20.
Much. Yeah, you have.
We need 20.
My chart shows 5.
Yeah, so that's not a valid trade.
And that does not mean it can't get down there. It just
no, that doesn't mean.
Odds aren't in favor.
We have a trend here, we got a trend. Here's the anchor. Here's the origin of a big move up. Here's the retest. So we do have a little bit of so from here to the retest. If I can find this wick right here, you can see that retest has already been that trend line has been well broken. Came back up and retested it. Now it's starting to break down again. Mm-hmm. But so we do have another trend from use this one to here, which is actually the one I like a little bit better, because actually this was a retest of this one. Here's came up, came back down, came back up, and the buyers came in here. It came back down again. The buyer found some more buyers to push it back up again. So this is really the range where, so I don't really like this one, but I do like this one up here where we have the high. There's a high, here's a hit, here's a hit, here's a hit, here's another hit, here's a hit. So right now, it's having a hard time getting through this from several times it pushed up, came back up again. Right now, I'd be looking at this thing to retest this with our down arrow to the trend line. Again, we still only have, there's your 5 pips, Brian.
Yep.
So again, there's no room to take anything in here. And from this pivot low to this pivot high, that's only 29 pips. That's a pretty tight range. And again, you need to go to a higher time frame to get more of the range. Let's see, this thing, that was the one we measured here. Yes, 29. So you have to come down to this one. That's 36. That's still pretty tight for overall. I mean, you could, even if it breaks through this one, if it breaks through this trend line here, it comes back down and retest this, that's your 21 pips. That would be about as best that you could expect to do. But if you draw your fibs from here to here, and look where your lower 25% is coming right in, right at where these wicks came in. So this would be the target. Now, if they have the strength where it breaks through that, this would be your next target right in here. And that might be enough room for a scalp trade, which is pretty much what we do. Here's your 25. This would be your target zone. If this thing comes down, breaks through, these are your 3 middle zones. This one could actually work on this. But that low green zone's got to get out of the way. We've got to get this out of the way first. Make sure we can clear that. Swiss, what are we on here now? Right, this is the Euro Swiss. Anything there? Nope. And so we have this. Here's our 3 zones. This is right in the middle of the 3. This is our retest area. And it came out of the upper 25. Here's your 0 line. Here's our 25, upper 25. Did we get a 5-minute close out of there? Yep, we did. We could look for the pullback. Here's the high, here's the low. We got a 23% pullback. We're looking at the, barely see that 50 line. 50 line is going to be right about there is about where the 50% pullback is. That's the 38. I can't see it with this blue zone. And so we can change the color on that. Blue, blue, blue. Let's just see if I can darken this up, see if I can see the other one. That might help. That helps a little bit. So over there is the top. Here's the pullback. See where the pullback comes in. Here's the 50, 60. It came into the 38. So I like to see my 23 to 50, which is right about in this area. Here's the 50. Here's a 61. Came up to, here's the, you can tell also with this little midpoint on my trend line here. Came right up 50. Okay, so if this thing can close down, it came up into the green zone, the orange zone. We have, that was the, that's where I thought 38 was. This is our target area down here. And then the retracement would be here to here. Came back up to the, from this one, 61%. Retracement target would be down here, right at these green zones. That's 8 pips. I like seeing 15. I'm only seeing 8. Five-minute chart, we do have a bounce. The arrow, came back, retest the arrow. I think we can take this one. We'll go for a shot on this one. Let's check our strength meter, see where's what's hot and what's not. Euro Swiss. Euro Swiss. Swiss is stronger. Swiss is stronger. Swiss is stronger. And we're looking strength to the downside. I'll take a shot at this one. And I'm going for 7. 70, 15. Click on that, here with that, set my targets. And my target is right down here, right? I may tweak that up a little bit. If we have the ounce and everything looks, the bounce, everything looks good, and I can get my 7 pips to the target on these lower time frames, I can go for that. Because I'm still not using it. I'm not using a 40 pip stop. I'm not using a 20 pip target. But right now my stop is way up here above the red zone. So it's out of harm's way. It's above the arrow moving average, out of harm's way. So I got lots of room. That's only a 15 pip stop, and I'm only looking to try and get down here a little bit. And I've got the momentum on my side, so I'll take a shot at that. And right now the spread on this is 7, 8, about 1.4 spread on that.
And when you get done with this, we have another question on your pound US.
Pound, what's that? What's the question?
Just a question in regards to the M being gone. What's your expectation?
I expect it to go up or go down.
That's exactly what. Yeah, what's your bias? I should say.
my bias is
it's going to move.
It's going to move. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. I would say that the bias is going to be a bounce off of this trend line or the red zone to come back down to the mid range of this. So I'm going to, wherever this thing stops, I'm going to say I'll just project it hits that's somewhere around in here. Then the bias is going to be coming back down to retest the middle third area right in here, which is going to be the midway of this trend line of the channel. So here's the 30, there's the 38. Now this will change as we move this up and down. Those are going to change. This is just a projection. This is nothing we're just projecting where it may start to turn around and give us some strike points a little bit, as you can say.
Yeah, the overall bias on the pound US is that it's going to go up. This is big long-term stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the heat map on the Euro British US, the US is weak on all 4 time frames. The British pound is gaining strength. So it is having favor to the upside, but I would be buying pullbacks as opposed to trying to pick a top. Right. Do not try and pick the tops or try and pick the bottoms. It just doesn't bode well. I know we tend to want to do it, but we oftentimes aren't very successful in that process.
You're gambling.
Wait for it to make a high. Wait for a strong pullback. That's when basically it comes up, strong pullback. The sellers are coming in, taking control. The buyers come in and say, "Oh, let's try and get a little bit more out of it." And basically, what the big boys are doing is saying, "We're going to sell up here, drive the price down." And then they're going to wait for people. Then as it drives down, they're going to be they're going to be buying to the people that got stopped out on the upside, and now they're going to take their profits coming up here, and then they're going to tank it again. And that's how they make their money. And stand by just a second.
Yeah, I think it's going to, looking at the pound, it looks like it wants to move up.
Yeah, it has a lot of strength. The pound's got a lot of strength to the dollar. I would just be looking for pullbacks inside this channel. I'd be waiting for a pullback into the channel and then maybe taking along. So right now I'm looking at this. We're looking at this for pullbacks. Comes up here, hits the channel somewhere up in here, hits the channel, comes back down, maybe retests this line. And then if the pound still has a strength to the dollar, which by 9:30, we may start seeing that changing a little bit as the U.S. market opens up. But right now, the British market is still in control. The British are still in control.
And if you look at the last 3 days, have been strong on the up.
Yeah.
Very strong. And you are inside of what we call resistance area, but it's piling through. Now you have a nice point at 40.25-ish that it's going to be a hard grind to get up, but it just looks like it wants to.
Yeah.
You have more resistance above you. So that's when Al was talking about a pullback. It would be better for it to clear out some of those orders, let it pull back into a nice area. Let's say 3,900 area would be a nice area for a longer term. 39.70 is a good area for a shorter term, and then just let it ride up where it's already been. I didn't even look at your chart. I see your 39.75. That's a good area to look at. Anything on the quarters.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Brian hasn't been around because he's a school teacher during the week. But Brian's been my partner in trading for several years now, and he's able to join us in the summertime. He has a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience in trades. That's why let's see, you haven't met him yet, but you'll hear more and more of him this summertime.
Yeah, let's hope so. I did have 4 of my teams for 4th grade finish in the top 25 of the state stock market game.
Against high schoolers.
Against high schoolers, yeah. So we did real well this year in spite of COVID and all that craziness.
What'd you finish this year in?
We had 4 teams finish in the top 25. Out of I think we had a total of 70 teams. Usually we divide them into groups of 4. This year we couldn't, so we had to do groups of 2. So we had a lot more teams. I don't know if other schools did that, but we had to do that. And 80% of our teams finished in the top 100.
Those are 4th graders.
4th graders. And this is not a hard game. They don't have all the noise in their head.
Yeah.
They don't listen to all the news. They could care less about the news. They just look at trend, price, and go.
See, how's our Euro Swiss trade doing here? Euro Swiss, Euro. And so we're just about out of, we still have about 10 minutes, I guess. Euro Swiss, see how that one's doing. We did take this one short. We did have took a little bit of heat on a pullback a few minutes ago. But right now it's still showing in the direction that we want to be going, and still looking at it coming down into retesting our orange line. This is the midline. Actually, no, that's the first one. This one, I need to take this one off. This is going to be confusing. Take that one off there. So this is where our target zones are right here. These are our target zones. We have a trend line right here, and we'll be out of this trade before that, or just about the time. We have our target sitting right here at this trend line. If it comes down, retest the trend line, we'll be out of this trade and maybe be looking for another bounce to the upside. But right now we had this, here's the pivot high. Actually, we could probably even take it up a little bit higher here. So here's the pivot high. This was the origin. Strong move down. Here's where the retest was. So this is the origin of this pullback. Here's a hit. There's a retest right in that area. That's the upper trend line. Now it did have another wick down, came back up. As you can see, it's starting to form a steeper slope coming down. So we'll take it from this hit to here, to here. And that's our, and so right now, this is our support. This is our resistance area. And you can see that we have this arrow moving average. So we can actually keep our stop above this arrow moving average. If this thing is going to start trending down to the downside, it's not going to violate this arrow moving average. And I can probably actually even take my stop and make it even tighter. They can bring it on down to, let's say just bring it down just a little bit above that. Let's just take it down to the first trend line. And so right now, rather than having a 15 pip stop, I have from 57 to 64. Right now, I've got a 7 pip stop. So I have a 7 pip target, 7 pip stop, and we're moving in the right direction to coming down into our target area. It made that nice little pullback. We can actually, we could probably even tighten it up more. I just like keeping it out of harm's way. Because if it does come back up and break this trend, it's got to break this trend. It's got to break this moving average. And I'll just move this thing up just a little bit above there. So it's got 3 little barriers. It's got this one, and this one. Plus you have this other zone. If it comes up and takes this out and retests it, I can always jump back in again. But right now, my stop is well out of harm's way, and my target is right in the sight of the move. pulled back to the 50%. Here's the 50% line down here. So this is my target zone, 50 to 38. So when it usually comes down and when it pulls back, it's to be a drop base, and it drops again to hit the whatever the retracement was off of the down move. And so we have our little target zone right down in here. And this can be right in this area, right, pretty much right at the green zone. If I move this, let's take that one off. Move that down to where the top of that hit was. And you can see that it's still synchronized where we have from this move to here, 50%, and now my overshoot area is at the 50%. Again, it's right where my target is. And so we wait. Let's give it the patience. And let's see, we still have 7 minutes to go. Let's check out the S&P. We never checked out the German 30, did we?
Mark grabbed some pips on it today. You did show it earlier.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Yeah, you did show it earlier. But Mark
Here's a
said
trend.
he grabbed a bunch of buys on it.
Yeah, right now it looks like it still wants to go to the upside. It's up in this the blue shaded area, up in but we have some red zones up above. It's kind of all over the place right now. Let's see what a higher time frame. It broke through the high. Let's see. Here's the money zone. Here's the high, overnight high. Just wicked up in there and then just tanked from the European session. And now it's coming back up to retest this area. Let me draw this. Right now, this was yesterday's high. This was yesterday's low, looks like, I think. Yeah, this was yesterday's range. It retested the high, retesting the low. So right now it's still kind of range bound, but this is the bigger move right here. So from the bigger move, came back down. It's kind of right in the middle. And I would probably be drawing a trend line probably from this one here to this pivot high. That's the upper, that's where it's having problems, because these are some all-time highs over here. So it's just starting to retest some of that strong all-time high move down. This was what happened last week with the S&P as well. Big move down, came back up, retesting. Now it's trying to find out where its the little happy spot is. So I'm gonna be looking at this area right in here for the overall range. And this is the lower 25 that we'd be paying attention to. And this is the upper 25. I'll kind of keep it out of the shaded areas just so it doesn't, we'll see where the area is. That way you can at least see where the lines are. And see right now is the moving averages are starting to consolidate. We've got the 200, we've got the 5 right below the 200. Everything else is pretty much in the right order, except not actually it's not really. Here's our arrow moving average. We have the 13 crossing it, the 5s crossing it, but we have this little pesky 200 moving average kind of in the way. It does look like it wants to kind of break to the upside, but we'll be looking at, I would be looking at the let's mark my 25, my zones here. we can see where we are on the curve. And so right now we're looking to see if it's going to come on up to retest this trend, this area. We did have it came out of the area, it's coming back up. Here's our little pivot high. And seeing how it's going to come back to retest this zone right in here. See if it comes and gets us a bounce off of this, and how deep it goes into this area. And with that, we're just about done. I don't know if anybody's in the 9 to 12 o'clock session today. Today's Wednesday. I think Corey may be there today. You may check that out. Any last minute questions before we go? If not, we will call it a day here, and I'll give you a chance to take a little break before Corey takes over, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time, 7:30 to 9.
Sounds good.
See you then. Thanks
See you
again
guys.
for coming, everybody. Thanks for all your questions and your participation. We love having you. We enjoy doing what we're doing. We enjoy having you coming in to hopefully you can make some money with these sessions, and we'll see you later. Take care. Have a good day. Stay green.
Have a great day, everybody.